Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the FamilyDeal.com 7 Sports Cave. I'm your host, Justin Rose. On tonight's show, we're going to talk all things NFL football, what went wrong with the Lions today, what went right with them, what they need to do in the offseason, as well as visit with somebody who kept a very interesting tradition alive within the Lions organization, plus the news of the day, and that's where we're going to start. So today's Lions game, there's two ways to really look at the game entering the day. A win, of course, would feel good heading into a long offseason for the true diehard fans, or another Lions loss would help ensure a top 3 draft pick. Which camp are you in? Plenty of fans on both sides, but the team, they don't care about anybody except winning. That's what they tried to do today. The game started out with the Lions playing with a lot of intensity, creativity as well. Danny Amendola hits David Blau for the game's first points. It's like they always have a trick play up their sleeve for Green Bay in Week 17. However, the Lions offense didn't stop there. Second quarter, Kerryon Johnson caps off an 80-yard drive that had the Packers on notice that this game going to be a fight. 17-3 at half, but the Packers had home field advantage and a bye on the line in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers shook off that rusty first half he had. Devontae Adams had a 20-yard score there. Now, David Blau, he wasn't perfect today. He threw an interception, and that helped set up this. Allen Lazard reels in the game-tying touchdown, 20-20. And just like the first time these two teams met this season, the Packers didn't lead until there were all zeros on the clock. That field goal by Mason Crosby gives them their second win over the Lions this season. 23-20, the final. The Lions finished their season 3-12-1.
Everybody was definitely inspired, wanted to play for our family that was hurting, to tell you the truth. And, we just came out and played. We were playing hard and guys were executing well. And, it's a bummer we couldn't finish it.
Yeah, now roster turnover happens on every single team. 30% of the guys you've seen suit up for the Lions this year will be with another team or they'll be out of football altogether. Darius Slay, Matthew Stafford, Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay are going to have all interesting off seasons. So too will Snacks Harrison, who is mulling retirement. Of course, he was emotional as they opened up to the media today about his shortcomings this season and what's next for him.
The hardest part about your decision, your emotions right now, just the realization that time catches up with everybody in the game, and you've loved and devoted so much of your life to it.
Yeah. Like I said, I've given everything I could give, and nobody's more disappointed, and nobody's more disappointed about this season and my performance than I am. I'm hard on myself, man, and like I said, I've given everything to every team I played for, and I don't feel bad if that's a decision. So I got a lot of thinking to do this offseason. I'm going to seek some different options and try to figure it out. But if I can't be that guy that I want to be and that I know I can be, then I got to hang it up because everybody deserves better.
Obviously very emotional there as he really opened up talking about it today. Of course, Darius Slay also asked if he wants to be a Lion next year. He says, that's out of my control, but of course, I want to be here. I just want to play football, kind of sticking to the same line he's had. All right, elsewhere, Patriots visiting the Dolphins today. It was a wacky world today. Third quarter, Tom Brady throws to one linebacker, Elandon Roberts. I don't even know if that's the right name. 38 yards for the score either way. Game tied at 17. Under 4 minutes to go. Pats down 3. Third and goal from the 13. Brady checks it to James White for the go-ahead touchdown. 24-20 Patriots. Everything's fine, right? But late in the fourth, Ryan Fitzpatrick fires over the middle. Mike Gesicki hauls it in for the score. The Dolphins, they win at Foxborough 27-24. Now, Washington, they could have helped the Lions' draft position by losing today, but Dallas, they were trying to keep their playoff hopes on life support. Third quarter, Dak Prescott, Michael Gallup, great grab in the corner of the end zone. Cowboys pulling away even further late in the third. Prescott to Gallup again. Take a look at that. Way to keep his feet. Cowboys win at 47-16, but still miss out on the playoffs. So here's how the draft order shakes out. Cincinnati will have the top overall pick. Washington will have the number 2 pick. There's your Detroit Lions. In the 3 spot, the Giants will pick 4th. And the Miami Dolphins will have 9 picks in the first 2 rounds because of the drafts or the trades they made beginning of this season. And they still ended up there beating the Patriots today. Now, I do want to bring up, before we move on any further, the playoff standings are out. This is what we know as far as who's going to play what. Baltimore and Kansas City both locked up first-round byes in the AFC, so that means the New England Patriots, they'll host the Tennessee Titans in a wild card, whereas Houston and Buffalo will play in the other wild card game. And as far as the NFC goes, the Packers, they're now the number 2 seed. 49ers keep the number 1 seed because of their win over Seattle just a few minutes ago. So those two teams get byes. New Orleans, they'll host the Vikings, while Philadelphia will host the Seattle Seahawks. All right, let's talk college hoops now. Michigan State back in action tonight at hosting Western Michigan. Now, All-American Cassius Winston sat out with a bone bruise. Tom Izzo doesn't believe it's serious, but with another week off after their last non-conference game, why not see what some of those other point guards can do? Now, considering the opponent, it appears the Spartans can still run it. They went on a 23-0 run at the end of the first half. Xavier Tillman and Aaron Henry each had 15 points, getting to the lane, kind of doing what they wanted to against the Broncos. But it was Winston's replacement, Foster Lawyer, who led all scorers with 16 points. Getting him confidence, meaningful minutes, and the shots to fall is going to play a major factor as Big Ten play resumes. A career-high 16 points for him. MSU wins it 95-62.
2 days ago, he kind of stopped on a non-contact thing. He was just dribbling the ball, stopped to shoot, and he kind of got a bone bruise. And, you know, after tonight, we're going to have games every 3 days. And so it was iffy one way or another. And he wanted to play, and I used my power to say, no, I think I'll keep you so I can get you as healthy as I can get you.
Michigan basketball without Isaiah Livers indefinitely due to a groin injury. Wolverines hosting UMass Lowell in their non-conference finale. Big day for John Teske. He scored 13 points in the first half, 10 of which came in the first 7 minutes alone. Teske 11 of 14 on the day on his way to a career-high 25 points. Michigan easily wins it 86-60. Now, a week from today, it's their continuation of Big Ten play, but it's in East Lansing against Michigan State.
I think they all did great. Filling, what we are missing. Yes, Isaiah, he brings 14 points a game. Shoot 50% almost from three-point land. But collectively, all hands on deck, but we have to do it by committee.
Now, Michigan continuing to get ready for Alabama on Wednesday down in Orlando for that Citrus Bowl. Kind of feels like college football's over because of the bowl games yesterday, but the Wolverines have already made it pretty clear. They're excited and unafraid of this matchup with the Crimson Tide, but they also know how they must be very prepared.
Since we've been here, it's been going really well. I think we're really finding our game plan, refining it. Everybody really understands everything we have to do to attack this team, and I'd say that we're playing well. Everyone's confident, and now it's just refining the little details that'll help us win this game.
Now, Red Wings playing in Tampa Bay, where they haven't won a regular season game there since 2011. Lightning still mad Detroit stole their general manager. Andre Palat puts them up early. Now the Red Wings would storm back. Robbie Fabry, he's been outstanding since joining the team. 10th goal of the year, ties it up at 1. But the losing streak in Tampa and in general for the Red Wings continues. Braden Point gets the game winner. Wings lose it 2-1.
I do think we played hard. I thought we played committed in terms of blocking shots. I think we did lots of stuff that way. We just didn't have enough tonight. That's a really good team. They're starting to get their game going at a high level. It's the same team that, set records last year. If we play as hard as we did the last 2 nights, we can build on that. Now we need a W. We need to go win a hockey game, so we got to go home and find a way to win against San Jose.
Pistons back in action this week as well. Come on, guys, let's get it together. All right, coming up next, we go back down to Ford Field. ESPN.com's Michael Rothstein joins me. We talk all things Lions, past, present, and future. You won't want to miss that. It's in a minute. Stay with us. Back down to Ford Field, Michael Rothstein from ESPN.com is here. And look, the season, graciously, is over. We don't have to talk about this particular Lions team anymore, even though they played with a little heart today, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of it, even though they probably, and some actually did talk about it a little bit, I think it was because of Marvin Jones and everything that has gone on there. The tragic situation of the death of his youngest son, Marlo, at 6 months old. And if you know anything about Marvin Jones, and I spent a lot of time with him, just in the locker room and even chatting with him here and there throughout his time here, he is one of the most dedicated fathers I know that's a professional athlete. He does everything for his kids. He coaches their Pop Warner team in California in the off season, and he's really invested in all of them. If you follow him on Instagram at all, you see that all the time. And Darius Slay was kind of emotional talking. Darius Slay's not a crier, obviously, but he was getting very emotional talking about Marvin Jones and some other players that I talked to, not for using their names publicly, also kind of said similar things. That was really, really hard and shocking to hear that. And I think you can even see that they were surprised that Marvin Jones showed up today, and then you could see the emotion in Marvin Jones when he was on the sidelines here. Looked like he was wiping away tears during the national anthem, and it's a horrible, just tragic. I mean, I don't have kids, so I can't even imagine what that would feel like. Situation to be in, and I think the Lions really rallied around that today more than really anything else that was going on between the lines.
I mean, a lot of backups playing, obviously. Certainly David Blau getting just another start under his belt in his very young NFL career, but I do like how they came out. A trick play to kind of get the juices flowing in here. It was a heavy Packers crowd, about 60-40 Lions-Packers fans. But do you like that the Lions came out and tried to execute and didn't just lay down? I mean, they gave a scare to a team to the very last second. Zeros were on the clock before the Packers won this game, and I don't know. You have to take something away from it.
Yeah, but I think you're living in false hope if you think that it's that.
No, I don't think this. No. Come on now, stay with me. You know me better than that.
I
don't think that this team is worth really a whole lot. But at the same time, it's the final day. It's the final home game. They played with a lot of intensity and fire, and for a lot of this game, they could have won it.
Right, absolutely. But I mean, I think they're all playing for different reasons, whether it's like we were just talking about with Marvin Jones. Some of these guys, like Graham Glasgow's playing to say, hey, look, pay me. Pay me money, whether it's here or somewhere else. And he addressed that a little bit after the game and said, I want to go somewhere where I feel wanted. And then I asked him, actually, well, did you feel wanted here this year? He'd been in a rotation with Kenny Wiggins and Joe Dahl until both of those guys got hurt, and he wouldn't answer that question. So I think for some of those guys, it's payment. For some of those guys, it's incentives. For some of those guys, they just love to play. And as we all both know, having covered the NFL for a long enough time, for half of these guys, that'll be the last game they ever play in the NFL, whether it's retirement, be it maybe Damon Harrison retiring, maybe a couple of other guys. Don Muhlbach said he doesn't want to necessarily go out like that, but he's going to talk with his wife after the season. Or guys who just back into the roster, guys that you don't know if they're going to be on an NFL roster 2 months from now, let alone a year from now in Week 17 in 2020. So guys play for different reasons, and some guys for incentives because there's extra money to be made. So I don't necessarily, I look at it for that perspective versus saying, oh my God, they looked really good, like they came together as a team finally. No, it was the same story here in this den of despair.
Den of despair. That's a new one.
Yeah, well, it's true. Like, it's funny. I was walking in and I'm like, this, like the factory of sadness in Cleveland is so good, but I think it's sadder here. And the den of despair really feels like it because of how this franchise in the 7 years I've been covering this team finds ways to lose games, and you've seen it all year long. Take leads early, look competent for a while, fall apart late. Today, Graham Glasgow said it. Today was the microcosm of their season, and it's so true, Justin. Just everything you saw today, like when I thought back about it, I'm like, that was almost every game other than really that Tampa game and the Minnesota game, and maybe the Denver game.
You could plug and play the same thing. They took a lead. They couldn't hold on to it. The defense was still porous at times, never really stand strong. That'll obviously be under the microscope for the coaching staff in the offseason here. But what are some of the biggest things this team needs to look at as they turn the page to 2020?
Well, the first thing, and this might come down sometime this week, I imagine there's going to be changes to the coaching staff. Defensive coordinator Paul Pasqualene's been under fire for half of the year, 3/4 of the season maybe, and other guys on that defensive side of the ball probably should go to sleep tonight not feeling great about their job security. That's the first thing. And then after that, it's free agency and figuring out a playmaker. You're going to have, as we're taping this, the number 2 or the number 3 pick in the draft. As of right now, Washington's trailing, so that means number 3, but you could have Chase Young, you could get Derek Brown. If Washington trades with somebody, say Miami or the Chargers, for a quarterback, then you have a shot, even maybe at getting Chase Young at number 3, or maybe Jeffrey Okudah, the cornerback from Ohio State. But this is a win-now thing for the Lions right now, and cornerbacks develop
development,
slower.
yeah.
Derek Brown is a guy I really think that they're going to target, and it makes a whole bunch of sense with the way Matt Patricia likes to run his defense. And listen, no matter what defensive changes they make, it's still going to be Matt Patricia's defense. And so much of this offseason needs to be focused there. And I think a little bit, honestly, at wide receiver, because they got to sign Kenny Golladay to a deal, and he's going to cost a lot of money. They have to make a decision on whether they want to extend Marvin Jones because he's entering a contract year. You need to figure out a slot receiver situation because Danny Amendola is entering his mid-30s. He's also a free agent. So there's some questions there at receiver. Running back, you maybe other than quarterback, and who knows with Matthew Stafford's back.
Right.
But running back might be the place you feel the most confident, which if you told me that at the beginning of the year, I would have been like, really? Like that would have meant Kerryon Johnson was healthy for 16 and ran for 1,000 yards.
Matt Patricia had said that he finally relinquished and finally said towards the end of the season that it was a rebuilding process. It was, something they had to tear down to build back up and whatnot. Are they any closer to being a team that can contend for anything? Or are they still maybe a year or so more away?
I don't know. I mean, and I say that because things can change so quickly in the NFL, and we've all seen that teams go from last to first every year. But this division's really difficult. I still think that this division is one of the most difficult in football. I think it's going to only get harder, although Minnesota's defense might take a step back next year because that core is getting older. Aaron Rodgers, as we saw today, didn't look the sharpest, but he's still Aaron Rodgers. You figure Chicago is going to somewhat rectify their quarterback situation, and then you have Detroit. I think there are some pieces there to build on, but there are so many questions that we just don't know the answers to. Like, is Darius Slay going to be a Lion in 2020?
Right.
Who's going to rush the passer other than Trey Flowers? Linebacker is a massive question at this point because you kind of know what Jared Davis is at this point, and he's a limited player, I think. And he's not going to give you that full range that you need a middle linebacker to give you. Can Jelani Tavai do that? I don't know the answer to that question.
The offseason is going to be so crucial for these young players to prove that they can be more than just one-dimensional players.
Right, absolutely. And I don't know. I think for some guys, like a guy like Jelani Tavai, Amani Owarie, I've really been impressed by in the latter half of this season when he's gotten the reps. And I think he's a guy that they can look at and say, not your number one corner, but you can plug him in as your number two, and then if you have Slay, or number three. I mean, Justin Coleman, you paid him a lot of money, and he's been
be here.
But he's been very hit and miss this year. There's just so and these are just the basic questions, like right off the top of my head. Like there are just so many things that we don't know about this team that I don't know if they can solve it in an offseason. And considering the mandate from Martha Ford and from Sheila Ford Hamp is be a playoff contender or you're maybe not here in 2021, I don't know if they're going to have enough to fix all of the problems. But I think they need to show that they fixed 3/4 of them in order to really be able to do anything at this point. And there's just no way to know. And I wish I had an answer. I'm kind of at a loss for words because there's so much there, Justin, that they need to rebuild the offensive line again.
And it's not just one thing. It's a multitude of different things. But I can tell you one thing: keep following Michael Rothstein, ESPN.com, all off season. Of course, anything that happens and trickles down, he'll have it. We'll of course have it. But thanks for hanging out with us all season long on the Sports Cave, man. We appreciate that.
No, it's been a pleasure. Glad to do it next year. Also, check out my podcast, The Michael Rothstein Show. We'll have a full podcast with a couple of beat writers later on this week. I think we're recording it Thursday, and just gonna kind of keep on chugging along. But it's draft season is here
already
in 2 hours.
Oh,
man, it just never ends.
It never ends. All right, coming up after the break, we'll have more from the 7 Sportscape. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the 7 Sportscape. I think everyone can agree, rooting for the local guy on the professional team is easy to do. No matter where you live, where you're from, you see a guy who grew up in a similar place, the high school, maybe you played against that high school at some point in your life. You go, oh yeah, okay, I can root for that guy. Anthony Pittman, he went to Birmingham Groves High School, Wayne State University, and since 1934, he carries on the tradition. A local guy plays for the Detroit Lions. I caught up with him today. Take a look.
I remember talking to you in training camp, and you just were thrilled to be out there during that time, but now you're out here and you're chasing down Aaron Rodgers and you almost get him for a sack, definitely a hurry. What's this year been like for you?
It's been a journey, definitely. I mean, just where I've started from and the work I put in all year, you know, staying patient, staying hungry, and to get this last opportunity in the last game on the last drive, you know, it's just a blessing. And I'm just so grateful to have this experience, grateful for the coaches, grateful for the team.
Every year since 1943, a local Detroit product has played for the Detroit Lions, and in 2019, it's your name that's continuing that type of tradition. What does that mean to you?
It's just an honor, man. It's my hometown. I grew up watching the Lions. You know, I went to Wayne State, down the street, and just to continue the legacy is just huge, you know, and just to be able to set the standard for other people coming out, you know, from Wayne State or from Detroit, wherever, you know, I'm able to set the example, so it's huge to me.
What's next for you now? You got a taste. You don't want to do anything else, right?
More work, off season, OTAs, training camp, back to it. So I'm ready for the next season right now.
I know it's still fresh in your mind, but was there a moment where you kind of had to calm yourself down? I mean, it is a big deal, and I know that in a month or two or three you might have a better answer for this. But walking out today, first snap today, was there a moment this year where you really were like, wow, I'm playing in the NFL?
Today, probably when I got it on the last drive. I was, you know, AB went down, and you know it's next man up, and I was like, wow, this is really happening. And just kept my composure, went out there, just thought of it like practice. Take it one play at a time, one snap, and just execute.
I know I was joking with you before, but you helped Aaron Rodgers up after he went down. I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's A-Rod, man. I mean, you got to show respect to A-Rod. So got a good hit on him, got to help him up.
All right, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Rookie in the league. Hopefully he continues to do big things with the Lions moving forward. All right, coming up, final thoughts. That's next on 7 Sports Game. All right, I gave you who was in the playoffs earlier and who they were playing. Now I'll tell you when they are playing. Wild Card Weekend is here, so let's show you who's playing when. Saturday, 4:30 on ABC. That's where you'll see the Bills taking on the Texans. That night, 8:15, the Titans are in New England to take on the Patriots. On Sunday, the Vikings, they're at the Saints at 1:05. And then the nightcap, 4 o'clock, Seattle versus Philly. One day, we'll be talking about the Lions doing this. One day. We'll see you next week.